well, what is the real difference with CSM version 3 and version 4? The process really being is with DCC is also what DCC looks at as well. You will be expected to meet version 4 in the near future with your new risk assessment reference number, because without that, you can't really do anything with CSM version 4.
Good afternoon, everyone. And today this is about Cybersecurity Model version 4 and the Defence Cyber Certification. And thankfully, we have two experts joining us today. So we have Phil from the MOD, who's going to talk about the version 4. And then we've got Gareth, who's from Pera-Prometheus, one of our Fit for Defence partners. And Gareth's going to go through the DCC. So lots of interesting information for everyone.
Yeah, so thanks, Phil, and thanks, Kelly. All I'm really going to add to mainly here is the DCC side. The big difference for yourselves, you're like, well, what is the real difference with CSM version 3 and version 4 for us, as people, you're trying to get your jobs done, is under CSM version 3, if you've been through it, you'll know that you fill out, you get your risk assessment reference, which is assigned to you by MOD or your contracting authority, and then you have to fill out your SAQ, which would give you a cyber risk profile. And your cyber risk profile would either be non-applicable, very low, low, moderate, or high. The big difference now is CSM version 4, you have cyber risk profile levels, and the 0, 1, 2, and 3. And as Phil's already said, don't misinterpret these things and say, right, so that must mean that level 0 is very low and level 1 is low. They don't map across in any way. They're completely separate. What does remain the same is DEFSTAN 05138 is still the question set that you will apply to these risk profiles. So whereas CSM version 3 had DEFSTAN 05138 issue 3 as its question set, and if you had a risk profile of non-applicable, all you had to do was get Cyber Essentials. So answer one of the questions that's in the chat there, is that both the DCC or CSM isn't just answered by Cyber Essentials, but as you'll see, if you're at level 0 or non-applicable, it pretty much covers you. So all you really had to do at very low, you had to have Cyber Essentials, and then at low, you then had to use this DEFSTAN 05138 question set. Just so people can understand what I'm talking about, because I appreciate I'm saying it a lot. Can everyone see my Google screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to look at what we're talking about here, so if you just type in gov.uk DEFSTAN 05138, as it is there, issue 4, enter, it'll come right to the top. It's right there. It's open source and you can view it now. You get to the page, you open up the standard. And really what this is the standard that these are the questions that CSM version 3 and 4. So version 4 now is looking at. It's also what DCC looks at as well. So they're basically saying it's the same question set. And as I'll mention later on, it's pretty much using the NIST 800-171 framework, which is an American framework, but something that's coming across. It'll tell you a little bit about it, what the purpose is. It'll also define the scope, and we'll come back to scope in a second. Scope's defined here. But the key part that's interesting, it defines the different levels and what's required for each level here. And then if you want to see where it applies to you and how it looks, especially if you're already under contract and think like, you will be expected to meet version 4 in the near future or the future. These are the questions and the levels that they apply to. So we can see up here, we've got levels 1, 2, and 3. It's got the tick box next to it. So if it's ticks, that's something you need to apply. So you can actually see the questions. You can actually just walk through what applies to you. So I thought it might be worth just pointing out. It's there, you can see it, and might be useful. So when we say 17 controls under version 3, that was what required. Now, the one that I've just brought up is issue 4, DEFSTAN 05138 issue 4. And so now when you're assigned your risk level, level 0, you have to achieve 3 controls. And as Phil said, one of those controls is Cyber Essentials certification. The other one is you must have a UK GDPR policy and be compliant with UK GDPR policy. And the third one is the only other question that's in that document that I've shown you. You must show that you have cyber resilience within your network, within your information networks. That's all you have to do at level 0. At level 1, what you'll see, and bear in mind this is the CSM we're talking about here, but it does apply as well to the DCC. They're both meant to be reaching the same standard. The big change here is at level 1, you got 98 controls that you would have to meet. And as I said, these don't map across in any way, but it's only one step up from to level 1 where you got 98 controls where you've got to take care of. Bearing in mind under the old system there was 63 controls if you had a high. You've got 98 just at a level 1. Level 3 will take you to a total of 144 controls. It's unlikely that many people will need to get to level 3. By the way, level 2 is probably the highest people are going to get to. But thought that might be worth pointing out before I went on to more DCC stuff. There's a big difference in what the DEF stand, the questions you're going to be asked at your risk levels. There's quite a big difference in scope. If it's useful at all, however, I think they're really good questions, and the NIST 800-171 framework is a very good method for protecting your business from InfoSec threats. So what is the DCC? The Defence Cyber Certification, that's from IASME. So some people, IASME is the Information Assurance for Small to Medium Enterprises, the governing body for people that do Cyber Essentials Plus, the Cyber Assurance Level 1, and also now the DCC. Now, the DCC was worked up in collaboration with MOD over a period of time. And effectively, as I've said, it's using the NIST 800-171 framework. And both it and CSM version 4 using the same DEF stand 05138 issue 4 question set. So there we've got big similarities that you could do DCC and we can trust that we would expect that it would meet the same thing as mod wants to do. Just out of interest, if anybody is involved in anything in the US or anything that flows down to them from the US from a federal perspective, it's also the same framework that the CMMC. The CMMC version 2, which is a federal requirement. It's like it's like the US version of CSM version 4, basically. DCC should apply across your organization, but there is a difference in scope, which I'll come on to. And it will be assessed. So whereas before MOD owned the CSM version 4, DCC is a commercial thing. It's owned by IASME. MOD are claiming that they're going to acknowledge it, but I'll come on to something in a minute. There's only been the letter to industry. It's the first time MOD has actually said anything about DCC. There is no industry security notice, which is saying, yes, we recognize DCC. So that's worth bearing in mind, but we'll come back to it. And the DCC, like the CSM, it has levels 1, 2, and 3. There's 0, 1, 2, and 3, sorry. There's more information on the website, so these slides will be shared, so you can get the link to the IASME website where it's sent. And if you want to do DCC, the IASME website is the place to go to and start the portal. They're the governing body. They have certifying bodies who can then take you through assessment and take it from there. The process really being is with DCC, so whereas with CSM version 4, it's very much MOD who will say, right, this is your risk profile. Your cyber risk profile level is level 1. Go and do DEF stand 05138 against level 1. That's all we're going to assess. You know, the busy then got time to assess the higher standards, so on and so forth. With DCC, it's entirely your choice what you're going to want to do at this stage. So you would choose the level you want to do. If it's level 0, it's complete self-assessment, very much like Cyber Essentials. You'll fill in the questionnaire, an assessor will look at it, and then if they approve it, you get the certification at level 0. Level 1 is similar. It's somewhere between being audited and just being assessed with a bit more granularity, shall we say. So there'll be some Teams calls where they might ask to see some evidence and so on and so forth, but it's not a full full audit. Levels 2 and 3 are fully audited. Now that, as someone's put in the chat, comes at cost, but we'll come on to that in a second. You certify, the certificate will be issued. Now, the point to note here is that there's nothing formal from MOD saying they will recognise this certificate in any way. And I think it's really important that people are clear on this before they start spending money. The certificate's valid for 3 years as well. So once you get the DCC certification, it's valid for 3 years. So in terms of contracts, sorry, we're just jumping back to CSM version 4 here. I won't spend much time on this because no, Phil's already covered it. But the thing to point is if you're in the process of applying for a contract, so if you're working through CSM version 3 process and you haven't actually completed the process, ultimately you're going to get put onto CSM version 4. If you have already completed the process and you're already delivering against a contract on CSM version 3, you will be expected to meet CSM version 4 at the anniversary of your contract award. But what should happen is your contracting authority should get in touch with you with your new risk assessment reference number, because without that, you can't really do anything with CSM version 4. However, if you want to be proactive, you could get in touch with them. And so this is quite interesting. A letter to industry came out. They come out every year in December generally. It's come from the Ministry of Defence Chief Information Security Officer and the Defence Digital Commercial Director. If you're involved in contracts, you should get one. They should flow down through the primes. If you haven't, then I can talk to you, on separate means, we can talk more about it. In general, the letter highlights the incidents that have happened over the last 12 months. It mentions CSM version 4, but I think the real value for people here is what they say about the Defence Cyber Certification, because I say, well, up until this point, there has been no mention at all, really, of DCC from MOD. This is the first time MOD has realistically acknowledged it in paper. And so what they're saying is that it was launched in May, and it's a further element to CSM, apparently. I think what's really important is it will be increasingly be specified as a precursor requirement for contracting with defence. What they're saying is it'll be increasingly specified, but it isn't yet. And it's going to start with obtaining. So what really they're saying there is, like, they recommend go do level 0. And in truth, I'll come on to some recommendations in a minute. But MOD CISO and Defence Digital Commercial Director saying, if a DCC's coming, it's a good idea if you get yourself ready for it. We suggest you go and do level 0. That's what they're saying. However, they still haven't said that it will be acknowledged against the CSM version 4 at this point. So suggesting you go and spend money is, a bit cheeky. So my recommendation really is, if you look at the prices across on the right here, this is a quote from one of the certifying bodies who gave me their price list. Like Cyber Essentials, it's done on the size of your business. So if you're a small business, 10 to 49 employees, the cost of doing DCC level 0 will be £525 plus VAT. I would suggest that most organisations, if you've done your Cyber Essentials, achieving level 0 will be challenging for you. As I say, you've got the Cyber Essentials, which is one of the controls. If you've got Cyber Essentials, you've probably got GDPR policy as well. So you just make sure you're GDPR compliant. And then the other thing is just to demonstrate some cyber resilience as well. So achieving level 0, fine. The other thing to bear in mind is who might ask you for a DCC certificate. Maybe the primes. If you're contracting to a prime, there's a good chance it's going to flow down from them, because it's a good way to put resilience within their supply chain. But MOD are recommending, suggesting you do level 0 and prepare for more. My strong recommendation would be have a serious look at doing DCC level 0. I wouldn't spend money on doing anything more than level 0 unless you have a real good commercial reason to do it. The prices will go up, especially when you get to levels 2 and 3. Well, I heard one quote was around about £15,000 for a level 2 assessment on a small company. That's not confirmed. It's only words that I heard, so it's not on paper. But I wouldn't suggest doing anything more now until MOD clarifies its position in more detail. And one of the reasons why I'm reserved about it, MOD's aspiration is that CSM version 4 will have to be assessed less and less because you'll go through the assessment process, be assigned a level. You've got your DCC certificate, which means that the process kind of halts there if you can evidence it. One of the big issues at the moment is the scope for CSM version 4 and DCC is different. CSM version 4, or the DEF stand 05138, says that it must apply across your entire organization. For most SMEs, probably not a problem. For the larger companies, the primes, a real big problem and a very expensive problem, and some of them are really pushing back on it. Whereas DCC says you can define a scope within certain reason. Until this scope is figured out, I don't really see how one can equate to another, because you could just get your DCC certificate against a very small element of your network, whereas CSM wants it across your whole organisation. So I don't really see how they map across. Advice there is just be ready for it. I would suggest be proactive, bring up the DEF stand and see where your organisation sits against it. You'll know then what level you achieve and what level you sit at. Give a serious thought to doing level 0. If it's going to make you look better, it's to MOD, it's going to maybe make you look more appealing. It's showing that you're playing the game and it's not going to cost you too much. But I wouldn't do anything more than that until it was required, or more information comes out. That's it from me. Hopefully I haven't overrun too much in this time for questions. Thanks very much.
Stay safe, stay secure, speak soon.